Lylat Wars, also known as Star Fox 64 in the US and Japan, the name change coming about over here due to lingering trademark issues with an obscure game for the Atari 2600. The game is a 3D scrolling shooter. You fly into the screen, shooting enemies, dodging obstacles and collecting pickups. Unlike its predecessor Star Wing, on occasion the game moves into all range mode, where you enter a dogfight in an enclosed area. Whilst I'm sure that purists will say that the scrolling sections are best, as a big fan of Rogue Squadron I've always had a soft spot for these 3D parts. You play as Fox McCloud, an anthropomorphic fox who seems to be the mutant offspring of some unfortunate vixen and one of the drivers from F-Zero. Seriously, go look it up for yourself if you don't believe me. You're backed up by Peppy Hare, the wise and experienced father figure, Falco Lombardi, the moody flying ace,
I've been saved by Fox, how swell!
And Slippy Toad, who despite being a member of the galaxy's most elite mercenary team doesn't seem to know his arse from his R-Wing. Your ultimate goal is to save the Lylat system from the evil monkey scientist Andros. And no, that's not monkey scientist in the sense that Jane Goodall is a monkey scientist, only he's a scientist who's a monkey. Although when you encounter him he's just a giant floating head and pair of hands, so I suppose at least he can still hold a test tube or throw feces if he wanted to. In addition to your wingmen, the game features a host of other supporting characters, all with full voice acting and distinctive broadly drawn personalities. This creates a nice atmosphere of the game, especially on the occasions where you face your rivals, Starwolf, with the taunts and radio chatter adding a level of involvement that would have been missing if the game had submitted to the N64's usual limitations of text-only dialogue.
My Emperor! I failed you!
Gameplay in Lylat Wars is solid and precise, allowing you to lay down rapid fire to take out smaller enemies, or charge up a homing attack which can take out multiple targets at once if you get it right. You can pick up bombs, upgrades for your lasers, or rings which increase the size of your health bar. To avoid enemy attacks you can also speed up, slow down, loop the loop and do a barrel roll to deflect incoming fire, so basically there's an awful lot of depth in what you can do. The difficulty is also well balanced. It's not that hard, but there are some moments where you really need to concentrate in order to pass. Still, it shouldn't take most players too much effort to get from the first mission to the last in about half an hour. However, if you do this and consider the game beaten, then you're doing both yourself and it a great disservice. The great thing about Lylat Wars is there are multiple paths to the end, unlocked by fulfilling certain conditions in the levels, like flying through the arches and saving Falco in the first level. It's finding all these alternate exits that's the real challenge of the game and keeps you coming back for another go. It obviously helps that the gameplay feels good enough that you won't mind too much having to play some sections more than once. The levels are nice and varied, offering a good variety of challenges and interesting quirks, such as the level set over the surface of a star, where you need to keep collecting health pickups in order to avoid a horrible fiery death. Some levels also allow you to get out of your R-Wing and use a tank or even a submarine. Boss fights tend to revolve around the idea of shoot the conveniently exposed flashing weak point, but do provide some real challenge in figuring out their attacks and provide some of the most memorable moments of the game. There is a 4-player versus mode where you just try to shoot each other down, and it's okay for a short while but not that great, turning into a repetitive cycle of one player getting a missile lock and the other doing a loop-de-loop to remove it. Like its predecessor, Lylat Wars was used by Nintendo as a testbed for new technology, and was the first game to feature the now standard force feedback. Unfortunately, it hasn't made it into the Virtual Console version of the game, even if you play with the GameCube controller. It's a bit of a shame as I never got to play the original version with the Rumble Pack, but the game does stand well on its own without this innovation. So, is Lylat Wars worth 1,000 Wii points? I certainly think so. It's an extremely engaging space shooter with replay value ingrained into its very design. Definitely worth a download.